If AI feels like an inevitability and risky at the same time, you're not wrong. But here's the thing that no one's talking about. AI isn't risky because it's new. It's risky because you've never been able to see a path far enough ahead of you clearly enough because of its newness, right? Which limits your ability to trust the decision that you'd make with it. But if you can see a path and that can become obvious, that makes it way less risky, right? Like way more approachable. And that's what we're getting into today. Because right now, AI is everywhere. It's in your inbox, it's in LinkedIn, it's in conferences, vendors, DIY, like everybody's talking about it. And most property managers I talk to, they're not thinking, how do I do this? They're thinking, I know I should move, I just don't know where to step. So in this episode, I'm going to talk to you about why that feeling exists, what you're actually missing, and how to remove the risk before you make it your move. Enjoy. Welcome to the Property Management Frame Breakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go. If right now, at the peak of the AI cacophony happening online, you're not feeling a little bit like AI feels as certain as ever and also as risky as ever, I don't disagree with you. But here's the deal. I think there's a way to de-risk AI. And that is if you can see inside of your operation clearly enough to trust whatever decision you're going to make with it, then it feels much less risky. Because once you see that, the path actually becomes obvious. And that's the part nobody's talking about. And that is the part that we figured out. So let's just talk about where we are right now. AI is everywhere. It's in your inbox. It's in LinkedIn. It's at conferences. Every vendor has a version of it. That hasn't changed. But now there's all sorts of new voices out there that weren't talking about AI before that are even talking more about AI because the DIY part is there too. So it's become more confusing, right? Like the more options you have, the more confusing things get. So it's also this moment where you should be really thinking about, should you be doing this if everybody's doing this, right? Most property managers I talk to, they're not thinking, how do I do this? They're thinking, I know I should move. I just don't know where to step. It's a dangerous place to be, right? Because the stakes are super real right now. You don't really have time to experiment. You can't afford to break things. Your team might not buy in. And that's really the big opportunity cost here, right? If it goes sideways, that's another favor you ask of your team, thing you ask of your team that burns you. And that's a high tax, right? You own that for a while. So it feels super risky. But it's not the kind of risk people think, right? It's not a technology risk anymore. The technology is obviously there. Now it's a certainty risk. Is this the right move? Because it's obvious that the technology is there, right? And if you can't clearly see where your work is coming from, what's actually driving your volume, and where things are breaking, then everything is going to feel like a guess. And guessing, that's where risk comes in. But AI is actually less risky, right? Going blind is risky. So here's where it gets interesting. Because when you actually start to see what's happening inside these operations, there are things that make you stop. And having the scale of data we have of behavioral insights right now is making these realizations really interesting, right? Realizing a huge percentage of your work isn't happening during business hours, which means the system you've built and you've obsessed over isn't even designed for when most of your problems occur, right? Or realizing you don't just have volume, you have a loop, meaning your work orders are creating more work orders than they need to be creating. These reactive decisions stacking on each other. That is stuff AI can see now. And that looks like having too many work orders assigned to a handyman kind of thing, right? It's seeing things like that, like patterns like certain vendor choices creating downstream issues, small leasing gaps triggering maintenance, right? Stuff like that. Resident experience quietly showing up in a sentiment that you can be much more proactive about. And the reaction is most people don't think that they would ever know that. They would ever be able to know that, right? And you wouldn't have because you've never had a time to see it. But this is the frame break that's happening right now. You don't need to figure out AI. You need to see your operation really clearly first, because once you can see it, you're not guessing anymore. And AI actually helps you see that, right now, right? That is what our onboarding process looks like, right? Anybody implementing anything, they should be able to see exactly where they stand. So we've created this diagnosis report, and it's not as much a report. It's not a tool. It's like an X-ray, right? It takes the data you already have. You basically export your maintenance history from your PMS in a Excel format or a sheet or whatever. What is it? CSV file. And give us a copy of your lease and give us a copy of like your master policy documents. And we put it in there. And it is able to show you your operation in a way that you've never been able to see before. And just as importantly, it shows how that compares to operators who are already doing this well. So now you're no longer reacting to noise. You're chasing established trends, making a decision based on current clarity. And that's the first real win. If you're in that place now, where you know this matters, but you don't want to guess, I can help you start there right now, which is why I want to make this episode, because you're someone that's like listening to me and it's like, all right, interesting, but not sure it's worth it. Just getting this X-ray, I think, is the moment to be like, all right, Pablo, I'm taking you up on this for sure, and see where you exactly are, right? So it's this just diagnostic that will run for you. There's no commitment. It's a couple of forms kind of thing, right? Just clarity. So that's where you are. Reach out, because I want to run this diagnostic for you. I can send you like an example of it. I can text you or email you the things that you need to send us in order to run it for you. And then you can use it. It's like a diagnostic with a prescription. Or if you look at the diagnostic, you look at the prescription, you're like, all right, cool. I would love for you to sit down with our team and go over like how we would do the procedure, right? Implement this prescription for you, right? I'm using medical terms on purpose. Diagnostic, prescription, procedure, and support you through the recovery, right? Like through the physical therapy and healthcare. And that's it, right? Like, I really think that having this data all aggregated in this one place now that we have, that allows us to have this AI run this analysis to give people these like insights into their operation that they've never thought that they could easily have, like resident satisfaction and exposure to repeat work orders based on handyman usage, and like those things that I said earlier. I think it's a really worthwhile thing to look at and do for people right now to give you a really good understanding of where you're at. So reach out. Let's run this diagnostic for you. And especially if you're a client. If you're a client, reach out to your AI advisor and have him do it for you, right? I'm assuming there's a high likelihood that you're a client of Vendoroo if you listen to my podcast. All right, that's it. Let us do this for you. Bye.